New Hampshire Governor Maggie Hassan, the Vice Chair of the Democratic Governors Association. Governor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So tell me about dinner last night very quickly. Was it all fun?
It was fun and lovely, and I think everybody
had
a very good time.
Okay, but you're headed over there today, and it's going to be less lighthearted and more. There's always a Q&A session. What's a specific issue you have with the president that you'd like him to deal with?
Well, I think we've all been focusing on growing our innovative economies. Certainly that's what we've been doing in New Hampshire, being responsive to business needs and really focusing on the middle class, growing the middle class, making sure that we have a strong middle class, which strengthens our whole economy. And so we'll be talking with the president about that. In New Hampshire, we have some particular initiatives. We have a bipartisan New Hampshire-based solution on expanding health care, which will be voted by our Senate in a couple of weeks. And so some of those are the kinds of things, how we can work together on those things.
Let me drill in on health care a little bit here. Here's a state that's got a Democratic governor and yourself, Democratic State House, Republican State Senate.
Right.
Normally in a circumstance like that, you would say, oh, this must be a state that has its own health care exchange and has expanded Medicaid. You've done neither. Why?
Well, for the last 2 years before the 2012 elections, the Tea Party had two-thirds control of both of our chambers. They passed a law banning us from accepting any federal money or setting up our own exchange. So we've been playing a little bit of catch-up since. But since the 2012 elections, we've been working with people in both parties to figure out how to expand health care in our state. The Democratic House wanted to expand Medicaid, as did I. The Republican Senate at first didn't want to. And we've been working together for a compromise, and that compromise just passed out of the Senate.
So what's more likely is that you will expand Medicaid, but the starting up your own exchange, that's going to be a while, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether we will. We have a partnership exchange now, and one of the things that our bipartisan agreement has in it is a way for us to, after putting this new population on Medicaid for a year, that gives us time to set up a premium assistance plan and move that population onto private insurance.
It does seem to me, just looking at it from the outside, that the federal exchange is a big failure for New Hampshire because you only have one provider. There is a monopoly here. Why didn't more insurance companies want to try to insure people in New Hampshire?
Well, first of all, I have been extremely frustrated with the rollout of the federal exchange, the federal website, and it's unacceptable. We only have one insurer on the exchange in New Hampshire. New Hampshire has had relatively low levels of competition in the insurance market for a while, partly because we're a very small state.
A lot of small states have this issue, and the whole point of the exchange was to try to make it so that you get rid of some of these monopolies.
Well, and as you know, because we got such a late start in getting started, we couldn't accept money to partner with the feds to set it up. It's been a challenge. We need more competition. One of the things that our health care agreement that will be voted on in a couple of weeks, and I hope very much, it looks like it should pass, that will, I think, help us bring more competition on the exchange. We already know that we have two other insurers looking at coming on next year.
Okay, one of the things about New Hampshire that's unique is you can't be a Democrat or a Republican and ever call for an increase in taxes. That's a non-starter in your state. Instead, you look for other ways to find revenue. You're looking for a casino to expand casino gambling. Others are talking about perhaps legalizing marijuana as another way. Do you worry that because there is just a political culture that says no taxes, that you're pursuing vices essentially, gambling or marijuana, whatever it is? That's not exactly. You're hoping for people to have their own vices to pay for services. Is that really a way to govern?
When I took office, our budget had been devastated. The Tea Party had slashed our university funding while cutting cigarette taxes. We had a bipartisan budget, most bipartisan budget in our state in over a decade, in which we reinvested in our university system. We did a number of other things, reinvested in our community-based mental health services without an income or sales tax, which is the way we've worked our state and our economy's structured around not having one.
But are you comfortable casino gambling?
I support one high-end, highly regulated casino. We're going to have some in Massachusetts. We have some in Maine. The people in our state gamble in a fairly unregulated way, especially through charitable gaming. I think it makes sense for us to accept a $500 million or more investment for one casino in a community that wants it in New Hampshire, and the people of New Hampshire support it.
I know most people try to get you to talk about 2016 in the sort of the normal way of, okay, what's going to happen in the primary. I'm curious, New Hampshire's had political whiplash, I would argue, over the last decade now, where it seems about every 2 years, one party throws the other one out, depending on who's got the momentum nationally, and it seems more so it's been all over the place. Is the fact that you are home to the New Hampshire primary and this whole national way of inviting new groups into the state, do you think that has made your state politics much harder to deal with, harder to govern?
We are very proud of the New Hampshire primary, which is competitive and always interesting, and I think reflects what I like to say, which is New Hampshire does democracy better than any place else. What you see from New Hampshire voters over the last 16, 20 years, we've had mostly Democratic governors. Right. We've had Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate for the first time since the Civil War in 2006 and 2008.
Then you throw them all out in 10. You brought them back in 12.
And what the New Hampshire people do, and I'm sure other governors would say this, but they go to work every day and they solve problems there. They go home and they work with their families and solve problems. They go to their communities and they do it without regard to political difference. They expect we do the same, and we're making great progress.
Let me ask you this. Who on the ground is doing, besides Hillary Clinton, on the Democratic side, is doing the spade work that you're supposed to do if you want to do well in New Hampshire?
Well, I think right now I'm just focused on running the state of New Hampshire, but we always welcome people to come up.
You're not name-checking anybody?
I'm not name-checking anybody.
Well, I will then leave it at that. Governor Maggie Hassan, thanks for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your stay here in Washington.
Thank you very much.
All right.